Very full show today. We've got sponsorship stuff to talk about, silly season stuff to talk about, basically anything you can think of, we're going to talk about today. So let's just get started. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome back to Out of the Groove. Look, it's starting to come together. I kinda got a real space again. I'm excited to see it. Still gotta make some changes. Lighting's still not perfect. Sound maybe still not perfect. So we're still working on it, but it's starting to go places. So anyway, don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about racing stuff. There's been a few stories that we need to catch up on over the last few days. I made a couple videos since then, but I kind of wanted to save all this for today's episode because a lot of it kind of goes together. So our good friend, who I have not yet met, but I would like to meet, Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal, reported on a few different things, and we've got to talk about them because there's some surprises, good surprises, and then there's some just kind of wonky surprises here. So I don't know, where should we start here? Let's start with the Generation 7 car. How about that? So new reports have confirmed that NASCAR has consulted with Dallara, the same company who's worked with IndyCar on building IndyCar chassis in recent years. NASCAR has consulted with them when it comes to designing the Generation 7 car. Now that being said, NASCAR has not yet made a final decision as to who's going to make the actual chassis for the Gen 7 car. Dallara, the company, is being considered supposedly, but there's still teams and everybody that has to come together and agree on one specific thing for this to go forward and actually happen. So we don't know yet who's actually going to be building the Generation 7 cars, but Dallara, a reputable company who's worked with other major racing series before, is still being heavily considered and has actually been consulted. So we can confirm that now. I've still heard mixed reports over the recent months about whether or not the Gen 7 car is actually still on schedule to debut in 2021. I know a few months ago, certain media members, we had Jeff Gluck on the channel, he said that he thought maybe NASCAR was lagging behind, that they were behind in testing, behind in planning, but recently at Bristol, some guys I know talked to Steve Phelps, president of NASCAR, and he was still reassuring people that they are on schedule, on plan for 2021. So I'll take it from Steve Phelps. I'll take it with a grain of salt though, because you never know if what he's saying is actually true. Things can still change. The beginning of 2021 is still a year and a half away. It's a lot of time for things to really change, but there's your update with the Gen 7 for now. Now let's talk about some sponsorship news. Monster Energy reportedly is planning on doubling down on their sponsorship of Chip Ganassi Racing in that one car. Driver Kurt Busch is still considering signing an extension, but it doesn't sound like he's really, those conversations are moving very fast. Sounds like he's still taking it very slow. Maybe he hasn't made a final decision yet. He's overachieved all year long, so that might lead to him wanting to stay with Ganassi for another year or so. And if Monster Energy does double down and actually expand on their partnership with that team, I'm sure Chip Ganassi Racing would welcome Kurt Busch to stay there because he's bringing in that extra money. This probably comes from our second story here. Let's tie these two stories together. Adam Stern and Darrell Wolfe both reported that NASCAR has made progress on their new business model for next year, their new sponsorship business model, I should say. For years, ever since really the inception of NASCAR, ever since Winston came on, it was the Winston Cup Series. The Cup Series, the top series of NASCAR, has always had a singular title sponsor. It was Winston for decades, then it was Nextel, which was then bought by Sprint, and now it's been Monster Energy for a few years. Next year, 2020, NASCAR is not planning on having a single title sponsor. It's likely just going to be called the NASCAR Cup Series, or maybe the NASCAR Premier Series is the name I've seen thrown around as well. And as a result, instead of having one singular title sponsor, there will now be several sponsors, maybe 5 is the number I've heard thrown around, that would all kind of buy into a certain portion of the overall sponsorship. And so you'd have things like Coca-Cola, who would be like the official soft drink of NASCAR, Comcast, the official internet provider or cable company, of NASCAR, that kind of thing. And Monster Energy is said to be one of the companies that is interested in buying into this model. And since that means Monster Energy would likely be spending less money each year on title sponsorship, that probably means they have extra money then to go spend on Kurt Busch and Chip Ganassi Racing. I think that's where this is coming from. So good for the teams in this case, and also good for NASCAR because they have a few pretty large companies that are interested in their new business model. Coca-Cola has been mentioned, Geico's been mentioned, Monster Energy's been mentioned, Comcast/Xfinity has been mentioned, and it sounds like NASCAR is also going after some of those telecommunication companies, big companies with a lot of money that they're willing to spend. So far so good for NASCAR's new sponsorship model. I think it sounds like it's making good progress, and I hope that they're able to get enough agreements with these people that they can actually do this, because it's smart, in my opinion, to diversify where your income is coming from. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because if you're relying solely on one source of income and something happens and they back out, you're totally screwed. If you have a few different people giving you money, if one person backs out, you still have all these other people giving you money. So it's smart, I think, in this day and age for NASCAR to try and diversify where they're getting all their money from. And I don't know, I hope it works out. Sounds like it's making steady progress, according to Adam Stern, and I'll take him at his word. My gosh, we're just flying through stories today. I know I'm hitting you guys with a lot of information really fast. So more good news from the NASCAR side of things. NBC Sports says that TV ratings through their first 8 races on NBCSN this year are up 5% in TV viewership compared to last year. They said that each race on cable so far this year is averaging about 2.5 million viewers, which is up from about 2.3 million viewers last year, which is really freaking good to hear. They also said that their IndyCar races have seen a 10% increase in viewership this year compared to last year. So it sounds like NBC is seeing a pretty good return now that they've gone all in on American motorsports. Remember, I talked about that early in the season. You know, NBC just bought up the rights to the entire IndyCar schedule, so this is, I think, the first year where they're going to be able to broadcast every single IndyCar race. They've obviously continued to invest more and more in their NASCAR broadcasts, adding Dale Earnhardt Jr. in recent years, continuing to experiment with different camera angles, different broadcasting styles to liven things up. NBC is completely bought into American motorsports. They're wanting to become kind of like the new Speed Channel in a way, and it's nice to see that in their first real year of doing this, that they're getting some pretty solid returns, that TV viewership for both NASCAR and IndyCar are up so far this year. That's good for NBC and good for the sport itself. So more good news. This is a very positive episode. Oh my gosh. You'll love to see it. Now I wanted to spend the end of this episode talking about some NASCAR silly season developments because I know a lot of people are very interested in where their favorite drivers are going to end up, where new faces are going to end up next year. And we've got a very interesting story developing, again, reported by Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal. I swear, I hope Adam Stern doesn't create a YouTube channel or do his own show because he's got the connections, man. He'd blow this show out of the water probably. Anyway, now Adam Stern is reporting that Tyler Reddick's Cup Series future might be a little more uncertain than we initially thought. Remember, Reddick, at the end of last season, decided to move from Junior Motorsports to Richard Childress Racing in the Xfinity Series because he believed there was a more clear path to the Cup Series at RCR versus JRM/Hendrick. Because at the time, Hendrick Motorsports had Chase Elliott, William Byron, Alex Bowman, 3 young guys just moved into the Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson's about to retire, but I don't know if Reddick saw himself as the clear replacement to Jimmy Johnson. Maybe Hendrick had somebody else in mind. So moving over to RCR, a team with only 2 cars, room to expand, room to grow, sounded like a pretty smart deal there for Tyler Reddick, and it sounded like it was going to work out. He's made 2 Cup Series starts already this year, and he actually finished 9th at Kansas, which was very impressive. But now it sounds like Richard Childress Racing might not be able to afford a 3rd Cup Series car next year, which now sounds like Tyler Reddick is looking elsewhere. If we look at the report here from Adam Stern, it even says that Reddick has talked to other teams, including Roush Fenway Racing. It's not even a Chevy team, that's a Ford team. Sounds to me like Tyler Reddick is hell-bent on making it into the Cup Series next year, and I don't blame him. He's the defending Xfinity Series champion. He's once again a contender this year. He's got 4 wins already, and he has a ridiculous 19 top 5s in 24 races this year. That's insane. That's incredible consistency. So Tyler Reddick, yeah, I think he's earned an opportunity in a solid Cup Series car. So I don't blame him looking elsewhere now that it sounds like maybe things are in doubt with Richard Childress Racing. Childress still refuses to move away from his grandchildren. Ty Dillon is still over there in that 13 car and is likely going to return next year. That's a Germain Racing car, but it's affiliated with RCR. Austin Dillon still in the 3 despite underperforming this year. Honestly, he's underperformed this year significantly. Daniel Hemrick, recent reports say he's probably going to return to the 8 car despite also slightly underperforming this year in my opinion. Richard Childress Racing just across the board has not been as good this year as I thought they'd be. So I don't really blame Tyler Reddick for looking elsewhere. Honestly, even if he got a Cup Series ride with RCR next year, I don't know, a Roush ride might even be better. And I didn't think I'd be saying that in 2019. Roush Racing's kind of on the up and up. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is obviously signed through 2021, so he's not going anywhere. Ryan Newman's contract situation is unclear, but given his success or the fact that he's overachieved this year, I would think Newman and Roush would want to stick together for at least 1 more year. So maybe Roush opens up a 3rd car. Maybe the 16 comes back. That becomes Tyler Reddick. Maybe that happens. But I mean, I'll be honest. I'd rather be in a Roush car than an RCR car right now. At least RCR, or at least Roush seems to kind of be coming back a little bit. Newman might make the playoffs. So if I'm Reddick, I would definitely be exploring other options. I mean, he's one part of the big 3 in the Xfinity Series. There are plenty of teams out there that I'm sure would like to have Tyler Reddick in one of their cars next year. This is kind of what I hoped Christopher Bell would do, since he's still not guaranteed a Joe Gibbs Racing ride next year. I wish he had looked around. I think maybe there could have been a Stewart-Haas car open possibly for Christopher Bell. I think he should have looked around rather than signing the first deal with Joe Gibbs, but he didn't. He's locked in with Toyota, so fine. Christopher Bell's going to make his money and is likely going to have a lot of success, but I like that Tyler Reddick is at least exploring his options because RCR was never going to be the best option. So I like that he's looking around. We'll see where he ends up. It is very interesting, though, that he is now reportedly talking to other race teams that are not even closely affiliated with Richard Childress. That's interesting. That's very interesting to me. It could be his third different team in 3 years. And he's had success with Junior Motorsports. He's had success with RCR. Wherever he goes next year, he might have success with them as well. He probably will. So very interesting silly season developments. Lots of moving pieces. Lots of new faces to talk about. Yeah, there's a new story every week. Very soon I'll have to do like my silly season predictions video where I just look at all these rides, even the ones that we might not be talking about yet, and I just predict who's going to go where. At this rate, I'll be surprised if I get more than one right because, man, there's no solid predictions right now. People's names are popping up all over the place. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for my show today. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Instagram, or you can become a Patreon supporter like these fine people right here. Michael Harrison, at You As The Stars, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Jason Artlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, TheRacingInsiders.com, Peppy Luscious, Matthew Koulopoulos, Jeremy Conkling, Emilio Garcia, Joey DiMuccino, Sky Racing Forums, Bryce Schumacher, Bryce Starcher, Scott McNew, and the rest of these incredible Patreon supporters. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the show, of the channel. Really means a ton to me, and hopefully we can continue to take this show to greater and greater places. So thank you guys a ton for the support. It means a lot to me. Probably won't have another episode up until after the Indianapolis race on Sunday, so if I don't see you the rest of this week, hope you have a great rest of your week and a great start to your weekend. I will see you all Sunday evening once again. Hopefully the Brickyard 400 is a fun one. The aero package might change it up a little bit, might look a little bit different, and with the playoff bubble, which I talked about in my last episode, being so close, so unpredictable, I think it's going to be a fun race. So hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.